Steven Toronto, CBS Sports. Ricky, I wanted to isolate something that you mentioned in your comments on the start-finish line. You referenced, Brad Daugherty and, how he's from the Western North Carolina area that's been so devastated by Helene. I know that he's very close with the Presley family as well. They're also from there. I don't know if Brad's here today, but have you heard from him since the checkered flag? And can you talk a little bit about, what your thoughts are on that situation and what your team is trying to do to help?
Yeah, I mean, I think my wife is selling a shirt on slidejobranch.com, and it's done really well, and we're going to match the proceeds of that, so hopefully that keeps going up. I've talked to Team Rubicon with Rick Allen, a charity of veterans that go in and help clean up. I was talking to them yesterday, and probably go there in a couple weeks once they kind of get established over there in Western North Carolina. So I haven't talked to Brad today since the win, but obviously a tremendous amount of people in our sport with ties in Asheville and up in the mountains in Boone, and whether it be the cabins that they have and the communities that they go to throughout the summer. So super devastated area, and I think for us, I know Mike Kelly has been trying to get a group of road crew guys to kind of all go up there at the same time once they kind of figure out where we can help. And so looking forward to going up there and doing that in the next few weeks.
You also referenced having lost one in a photo finish year. That was in 2020. Just from a driver's standpoint, can you talk about photo finish situation, crossing the finish line, and then a couple seconds between, man, did we get him? Did we get him to either saying, yeah, you got him, or no, you didn't get him?
Yeah, with obviously like with the Atlanta race earlier in the year, the Kansas race, the first Kansas. My spotter tab was pumped as soon as we crossed the line, but I'm just sitting there waiting to celebrate and make sure. It was way too close for me to call from the seat, but when the 24 jumped out to the outside, it was like a parachute hit my car, and I was just hoping that we would get to the start finish line before them, and so it was a drag race at that point. So when I got probably to the back stretch, they were pretty confident that we had won, and a big sigh of relief for sure.
Thanks, Ricky. Congratulations.
We'll come down here in the front to Matt.
Matt Weaver, Sportsnot. A lot of drivers who have had success on super speedways over the years have kind of lamented this car and said this car doesn't fit my style of super speedway racing. And I feel like you're the one constant, whether it's the old car, the new car. You're always in the mix. You've won in both cars now. Do you feel like you're kind of the exception of that narrative, that you're still good, your skill set still carries over?
Yeah, I think there's definitely things that are different and nuances of this car at every racetrack, and no different than when they add a little bit taller wicker down the car and things like that. You feel things a little bit different even than the last time we were here. So I think for the most part, I think the 12, the 6, 22, myself, I feel like we always tend to work ourselves in the mix, and every time I looked up, the 22 was right there, the 6 was right there, the 17 and the 12 and myself. And then I think for me, there's little things that are still possible to do with this car, with the side drafts, and trying to figure out when to side draft and not to side draft. It's still effective. It's not as effective, I guess. And I think everybody's cars drive almost too good. So I feel like it puts everybody really comfortable. I felt like for the longest time with our older cars and the speeds that we would run, you get some laps on the tires, and depending on what setup you put in your race car was depended on how it would handle and how it would take pushes and things like that. But my guys got a really good setup that we clearly don't qualify very fast. I think we average probably 32nd in qualifying here, or a second off of the 34. But once the green flag drops, I feel like I'm at no disadvantage. I feel really comfortable with my car, and I'm able to make moves and take pushes. When the 5 was pushing me at the end of stage 1, I mean, he was shoving me hard, no different than the 24 there at the end, and I just feel really comfortable with that and what I can do with it.
And then you mentioned Tab earlier. Tab's a Gulf Coast native. He considers this his home track? How cool is it to win for him? And then what were his contributions today to this win?
Yeah, I think, throughout the day, I continued to let him know what I needed, in different situations. We were 3 wide, for most of the race, heck, 4 wide for a long time. And then when we were 4 wide, I was just telling him, the only information I needed was, how much room the 38 had, because I was trying to get our row clear of the 4 wide situation. And so for the most part today, it was just really keeping me aware of, how far I could push the car in front of me to keep our line going. And you're trying to do that all at the same time of saving fuel. It's very difficult, but he was constantly. At one point, I lost him for a second. He had to change batteries. He was talking a lot today. So I think just keeping me informed of where everybody was around me is very beneficial. And talking about the lines coming, when the 8 popped out there at the end, I was a little bummed because I was like, dang man, he's going kind of early. And luckily nobody went with him, and we were able to keep our line and momentum going.
Are there any other questions? Come down here to Bob.
Bob Cockris, Fox Sports. Were you concerned when Chase got involved in that big wreck? Because Chase had said he felt like you and him probably were working better than everybody together.
Yeah, everybody likes to race super speedways different. I've always felt like, being the leader of a line, I like to side draft the inside cars, and it keeps the car behind me closer, it slows them down. But Chase would, came over the radio and got me to, stop side drafting as much. He felt like the way his car was, he was able to just push better if we just kind of stayed in our lane. And I think it was pretty close one way or the other. But yeah, he was pushing me really, really good. I felt like he was able to latch on to me at the right times, and really that whole last run, I was just trying to make sure I beat the 2 to the line every lap, and was just trying to gauge where I needed to be down the back straightaway, coming off turn 4, going into the tri-oval, things like that to make sure that we beat them to the line. And like I said, I was really hoping it just went green, because I didn't feel like the lap times that we were running at that moment were pretty fast, and I didn't think the 3rd lane could get momentum as fast as we were in the bottom 2 lanes. So I wasn't worried about anybody jumping to the outside. So yeah, I would much rather have raced it out from there. But like I said, once the caution came out and I realized how many Chevys were around us, I felt even better about it, I guess, at the end. But yeah, Chase was working really well with me.
And you mentioned the 8 jumping out early. Were you, if you had to block the 8, were you concerned, or
No, I wasn't.
obviously you had the history earlier this year,
Yeah.
and do you think you could have worked together, or would it have been a slugfest on the track?
Yeah, no, I was not. I think he positioned himself a lot of the race in the front. I felt like he led the middle lane a lot, and I was in the middle lane. And when he jumped out, again, I felt like it was too early. So I was hoping nobody would go with him. I didn't think that was a good move. At least from where I was sitting. And then, like I said, we were running so fast around the bottom lane that I don't think you could have made that work. But yeah, no, I was gonna block anybody. I didn't care who it was. So it's so tough to win these races. It's so tough to miss the wrecks, put yourself in the right position with enough fuel. These races are kind of chaos, when it comes down to the end. So I was, thankful that we had a successful green, white, checkered without having another caution. It's been a long time since we've been able to do that in the Cup Series, so that was kind of nice.
We'll come down here to Kelly and then go to Jordan.
Kelly, KernelRacer.com. I was just curious, talking about blocking and the moves. Coming off of 4, Brad was clear of the field on the bottom. Were you surprised he didn't swing up and throw a block?
Very
on you?
surprised, especially, again, if I was in the 6th situation, I would say, Kyle and I are, the best friends out there that you could have. And so, Kyle wins a lot of races, and I know that he's going to probably help me out as much as he can. So I was really shocked. I was waiting for the block, and I was going to decide whether I was clear enough to get to his inside and get in front of the 5, or hang a right and take our momentum with the 24. So yeah, I was super shocked that he didn't make that right hand.
Go to Jordan.
Jordan Bianchi, The Athletic. The races we started, you guys are circling, and there's still some cars, working to be towed back. You're passing these cars, right? And so are you in your mind thinking, wait, we're going to be running out of fuel here?
Yeah.
Is there a little bit of an advantage?
There was a big concern for me. I mean, obviously we're not in the playoffs, but I thought it was really odd that they turned the yellow light on and let some of those cars get back to pit road and start working on them as we're just sitting on the backstretch. So I thought that was odd. It was, I guess, good for the cars that needed to work on them without going a lap down. But then, we got back going, and I was just relaying that info to Mike and the guys that, man, I mean, we got 2, 3, 4 more laps of this, and I was just saving as much as I could. I have no idea how close we were on gas. I mean, I did a massive burnout, so at least I got to do that. We didn't get to do that at the 500. We were out of gas there, so we had enough to do that. But yeah, I was concerned for sure that the caution laps were eating into the fuel, because as soon as we came out from our green flag pit stop, I ran 100% throttle from there on out until that last caution. So I was concerned for sure.
We're gonna come all the way over here to the right.
Don Stinson, DNA Sports Talk. I spoke to the 41 and Ryan Pierce. You mentioned that most of you are only going at 50% until the end of the stage or the end of the end of the checker flag. Is that indicative of Talladega or just in general in NASCAR playoffs?
Yeah, it's just a product of everybody just learning race strategies, and we're trying to spend the least amount of time on pit road getting gas, and you can. If you come in a second behind somebody, but you need a second less of fuel, then you can leave with them on pit road. And so that was what myself and my team was trying to do. We knew that we wanted to be somewhere in the top 10, and once we got there, I was saving fuel, trying to run probably 50% throttle, just trying to save as much as I could, but still keep my track position. And ultimately, I feel like that's what won us the race. We kept our track position, we saved enough fuel, and we got to the front when we needed to pit. So we pitted basically from the lead, and then we left pit road with our group, leading, and the 9 was pushing us. If the 9, would have got out in front of us on pit road, then I would have been pushing him, and I would have probably been exactly where the 9 was, when that wreck happened. So I felt like that was the kind of the winning move of the race for us. But yeah, we saved a lot of fuel.
What was the best part of the celebration?
FaceTiming my wife with my son. Super bummed that they didn't come, but can't wait to get home.